Good evening and welcome to a special edition of Connect. It's 6:30 and that's what we get to you every weekday at 6:30. Connect with you, the audience, on WhatsApp, on Facebook, on Twitter. Ridangshu on our digital deck. Ridangshu, what's happening?
Yes, indeed. The digital desk is buzzing with a lot of really incredulous responses here. They range from frankly being amused to being outraged as to how in 21st century India, the word intercourse is something which is taboo in a mainstream Hindi film. I'm being joined right now by my colleague Shah. Without wasting any more time, let's go straight across to what some of the responses are from our digital desk. Shah, what are the trends indicating?
Ridanshu, a lot of response that we are getting on this issue, like people, where people are slamming the CBFC for taking such an action against this film. Siddharth Thakur says, please CBFC, stop putting your creativity in films. Going in the era where nobody wants to be, a film's essence is in its originality. Vishal Kaushik says, youth aspires to be a part of an open society and not of a conservative one. Focus on productive issues instead of such pretty ones. These are the responses we are having currently, Ridanshu, on this.
Well, clearly, Rishabh, it seems people believe that enough is enough and it's time for Pahlaj to perhaps be given the boot because, frankly, this is now turning into a
it's time we have this conversation and we need to keep on having the conversation because only when you connect, when people hear your voice, they know what the pulse of India is. Thesis, antithesis, makes the synthesis. The premise is simple. The SRK Harry Met Sejal, when Harry Met Sejal movie trailer has come out, in which the actress in this case comes out and uses the word intercourse. Intercourse is the word she's used. And the censor board has a problem with it, says it can't be released under a UA certificate. They've asked them to bleep out or drop that word. In the studio with me, I have Murtaza Ali, he's a film journalist. I also have Boski, who's an actor joining us from Chennai. Ritika is going to be joining us in a bit with Ritangshu. And Arnab Banerjee, another film critic, is joining us in our studio. Boski, I'm just coming to you. Murtaza, what do you make of this?
See, firstly, I would like to ask Mr. Pahlaj Nihalani, like, is it too offensive or too vulgar to use intercourse? I, for example, remember coming across it for the first time in my 6th or 7th class science textbook. So I don't see it very offensive at all. And as far as censorship is concerned, I see that there are always 3 things that needs to be taken into consideration before you start scrutinizing things. One is intent, the other is treatment, and the very similitude.
No, or is it the other problem? Boski, is it the other problem? Is it the problem that the censors have that, oh, a girl talking about sex, even using the word intercourse is now taboo in this country or still taboo in this country? Boski, you can hear me? Okay, we'll get that audio connection to you sorted out. I'm quickly going to open this up to more reactions that are coming.
Oh, okay. You want me to answer
this? Yeah, that
this?
was for you, Boski. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. If you say the word intercourse is totally objectionable, then what about the word rape? That's fierce. That's more severe than that. How do you permit that word then? Okay, for example, you take an application form which is issued in a college or a school. There is one column which says sex. What they mean is whether you are a male or a female. But suppose I start understanding it as whether you've had sex or not, then will you ban that word sex from all your application forms in all the institutions?
It's an example.
This is just a word.
No, it is an example how ridiculous we can become. It's an example, and we're going to take up some more reactions. I'm coming right back to you. We're going to take up more reactions coming in on Facebook, coming on WhatsApp, coming in on Twitter. Before that, Murtaza, this is the problem, right? I mean, where does it stop? Have a look at the reactions that have come in. Sayantana Ghosh says, however, the stock which had delivered, I mean, she's taking a direct pun at the censors that birds still deliver children as far as what we need to treat this country. A bird kisses a bee and Pahlaj Nihalani is born. No wonder he can't wrap his head around the concept of intercourse. It's not just Pahlaj Nihalani. This is a problem that, you know, we, on the one hand, Murtaza, we can, the item numbers are no problem. That's okay. But when you start talking about sex, oh, it's taboo. There's a major issue.
I clearly see hypocrisy. You can allow a movie like Befikre with the UA and yet you have problem with the use of word intercourse. It clearly shows that there is a discrepancy in how the censor board is operating, or maybe there is something that needs to be fixed in the thought process of the censor board.
Especially and they're reaching a whole new, Ritangshu, they're reaching it's a whole new height. I mean, are you looking at reactions that are pouring in? Rahul Ishwar joining us on the conversation also, but before that, Ritangshu, more reactions are pouring in. What's the word from the digital team?
Yes, indeed. Let's take you through some more reactions, Rishabh. Here, Ankur Talian says it's the censor board for film certification, not a board to tell people what to watch. Let's listen and let's look at some responses coming in as well on Facebook here. Many people are coming and saying the CBFC should start acting maturely, removing the word intercourse from Jab Harry Met Sejal, which is a natural process, will not help Mr. Pahlaj. So the seeming tendency of Mr. Pahlaj Nihalani to pretend that if something does not be uttered on cinema, that means it doesn't exist, is something which completely
he's
has
getting hammered,
been
and it's not the
exposed by
first time, and he's used to it. And Pahlaj Nihalani has a thick skin about this. He's committed to the cause. Rahul Ishwar, have you become ridiculous now?
Please remember, see, we may disagree with censor board, but even High Court in the Udta Punjab case said there is a right for court and censor board to edit out words and edit out sentences of scenes. So we can debate whether he should do it or not, but India being largely a conservative society, a family-oriented society, these things do pop up once in a while. We should please remember, even in US, where the Gossip Girl was being aired, their families objected because they had some outrageous vulgar scenes in it. So we have to debate where we have to draw this Lakshmi Rekha, but these kind of censorships are always there in all parts of the world.
No, but what's
we
the
can
Lakshman
definitely
Rekha?
discuss where
What
to
is the
draw that
Lakshman
line.
Rekha? And the irony of all this, Rahul Ishwar, is that the same kids are online. And they are getting all the information. It's on TV now. Pahlaj Nihalani doesn't want TV channels to show the ad until that word is removed. Bosky, that's the reality. Are we living in some sort of blindfolded zone?
Yeah.
I would remember we should be
I'm coming back to you, Rahul. Bosky.
It's reality. That way, then you'll have to ban all condom ads, boss. You'll have to ban all condom ads that way. Everybody is watching, that's coming on TV. You'll have to ban all the condom ads. And you take cricket, for example, the moment a bowler takes a wicket, it's either a 4-letter word or a 7-letter word that he screams. It's coming close up on screen, though you're not able to hear it. Now, how many things will you ban? You'll have to switch off the TV and keep watching 24 hours.
Okay,
Neither your TV will get spoiled nor your eye will get spoiled.
Let's listen in quickly from Ritvika, who's in our digital desk also. She has a strong opinion on this. Ridanshu, carry on.
We're telling basically our children that certain things are taboo, and we run the risk of having a whole generation that looks at this as unnatural or alcohol.
completely undermines a lot of effort in order to make children more aware of sex education by having such a regressive policy when it comes to certifying films.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think if anything else, this should be something which we should make a conscious effort to have a civil discourse around, a very informed discourse around. But we don't have that. We just decide, let's just not talk about it and shove it under the carpet.
Let's not talk about it. And that's the line. More reactions coming in on Twitter and on WhatsApp. Murtaza, before that, is that the problem? Is not Pahlaj Nihalani. He's a symptom there of the disease. The problem is we don't want to talk about these things, let alone on the mainstream media when everybody and their uncle and aunt are discussing everything online.
See, I feel that the laws are outdated. I think Pahlaj Nihalani and the thought process still stuck in the 1950s. That's how old these laws are. So I think we need a serious reformation in this.
Okay, but Rahul Ishwar disagrees. Rahul, why not? I mean, considering the kind of stuff that clears and all the item numbers and all the, let's face it, sleazy dialogues, double meaning dialogues, no problem. That we can all deal with. But when it comes to having a serious word, in fact, intercourse is a rather serious word to be used. Why does that become an issue?
If I can point out one thing, the gentleman who spoke before me said even the cricket players use the 4-letter word. He's not uttering the 4-letter word because he understands that 4-letter word is particularly offensive. Every kid in India knows that particular word, but he's not uttering. Why? Because there are some manners and civilities we all follow. We can definitely debate what are the new lines in the 2017, which are the Lakshmi Rekhas that needs to be drawn. But some kind of Lakshmi Rekha should be there, and we cannot be 100%.
Let's debate that. No, let's find them. Let's find the Lakshman Rekhas. There are certain Lakshman Rekhas. Nobody's claiming that everything goes. Certainly not. That's not the claim over here. We can't be running all sorts of sleeves also. Twitter is exploding with this, as you can well imagine. Tweets are pouring in one after the other at us. This is now Abhimanyu, who's writing, hindrance is the cause for provocation. What's wrong with the word intercourse? Ankur is writing, intercourse is a synonym to the word conversation. Censor can't digest its serious thought. Jab Harry Met Sejal. Murtaza, where is that line? Rahul Ishwar says a line exists. Yes, a line exists. Where is that line?
I feel that it exists. Obviously, you cannot allow pornographical content on to go public. But obviously, I feel that laws are outdated and you need to go for a serious reformation. And people like Pahlaj Nihalani just seem incapable of doing that.
Okay, Bosky, is it coming from the same zone? Is this coming from the same zone that says, what you wear is what defines you? If you wear a short dress and you're out, you're asking for it? Is it coming from a same sexist zone or is it coming from a paternalistic, patronizing zone? Where do you think it's coming from?
Is the question directed to me?
Yes, yes, it is, Bossy, to you.
No, I don't agree with this. But seriously, I'm telling you, if you say rape, it amounts to the same thing. If it is done in agreement, then it's an intercourse. If it is done in disagreement, it is a rape. Then you should be objecting to the usage of the word rape too. How does he permit that word then? It all means the same. And moreover, to my understanding, if you say intercourse, there are two types. If it is social intercourse, you interact socially. Sexually means it is sexual intercourse. It is just a word, like post-mortem. Post-mortem doesn't relate only to dead bodies. Anything which you analyze after the happening of an event is called a post-mortem. It is something like that.
Okay, I'm trying to hone in because there is a semantical argument, Rahul Ishwar. That's semantics. What one word means in what context. We all know the semantical argument, but there's a perceptorial argument that this is a young India. There are 600 million young people in this country who are younger than you and me, Rahul Ishwar, who have a different way of conversing, and we need to engage with these people, educate these people, and not simply say everything that you already know about, we will tiptoe around you because we don't want to discuss it with you in public.
I partially concede that point, but only partially. There is a young and vibrant India emerging. We need to have sex education, but along with sex education, we need to have ethical education too. There should be some kind of a ethical sensitization. If we are not giving it and giving a free run to have a 1970s like free sex attitude, women will be only seen as commodities and objects of pleasure and lust. So there should be a balance.
Okay, it's a point. I'll take the point and I'm going to flip it across to Ritangshu on the digital desk. Ritangshu, put that thought to Ritvika if you can, please. Because the argument is being made that while at one extent it might be ridiculous to be banning these kind of words because it doesn't make any sense, the counter argument can also be made is you can't be putting them in and make this cool for some reason.
Rahul Ishwar, who is a Sabrimala trustee and someone who's also been an activist, has also been a part of the entertainment industry, believes that there has to be a line which has to be drawn as to what is acceptable for what kind of people or what section of society and what is not. Do you believe that there has to be a line which is drawn? And if so, where does the line get drawn?
Yeah, I do agree in the fact that there should be some level of protection. I don't agree that there has to be a line that has to be drawn by someone else. I think we're smart people. We know where we need to draw the line ourselves. If there's a sleazy movie that comes out, you will notice it doesn't do that well in box office.
Okay.
It's because people know
now we
what
put this
want
to the man
watch.
himself.
We don't
Pahlaj
need someone
Nihalani.
else to tell
Just
us
hold on,
that
you
this
carry on the
line
conversation because we put this thought, we found Pahlaj Nihalani, we put a mic to him and we asked him, and this is his explanation he offered. Listen it.
We have with us CBFC chief, Mr. Pahlaj Nihalani. So the question to you is again that is it true that the CBFC has asked the makers of the movie Jab Harry Met Sejal to remove the word intercourse? What's the problem with this?
देखिए हमें उसे हमारे काम में आप जो ना दखल न दे कि हमने ये क्यों किया और हमने क्या क्या नहीं किया. जो हमारा काम है हम करते हैं, आप अपना काम कीजिए. हमने उसको अभी तक सर्टिफिकेट नहीं दिया है, लेकिन जो डिजिटल में उनको दिया उसमें उनको सर्टिफिकेट की जरूरत नहीं है. और लेकिन जो मीडिया जो दिखा रही है उसके ट्रेलर्स को वो गलत कर रही है, क्योंकि जो टीवी में मटेरियल जो है फिल्म का कोई भी हो उसको सर्टिफिकेट की जरूरत है, और विदाउट सर्टिफिकेट मीडिया दिखा रही है, प्रोड्यूसर ने नहीं दिखाया.
ट्रेलर्स आर ऑन द वेबसाइट, दे हैव पुट इट ऑन द यूट्यूब.
भले कहीं भी हो, जो सेंसर जितने भी सर्टिफिकेट जो है विद द सर्टिफिकेट जो है टीवी में दिखाना है, दैट्स अ रूल, एवरीवन नोज. इसलिए हमसे वो सर्टिफिकेट लेते हैं प्रमोशन के लिए. जब टेलीविजन को मालूम है कि इसमें प्रमोशन के लिए भी सर्टिफिकेट की जरूरत होती है फिल्म मटेरियल में, तो कैसे दिखा रहे हैं विदाउट परमिशन?
But you know that's the film critics and the people, they say they are unnecessary, you create controversy, like we have seen lipstick under my burqa. And then
don't ask me that. You have taken this topic again and again. I don't want to say whatever happened. That's a CBFC's work. Is you are doing your job. Let us do it our job.
Okay, let us do our job, it says Pahlaj Nihalani. And he said, look, you can put it on digital because there are no laws governing content on digital, but you can't take that film trailer from YouTube where it is on and put it on TV because that's illegal. Where have we reached? Does that any of that make sense to you?
Clear hypocrisy.
No, but why? Because he says we are doing our job and it's my job to agree or disagree, and I disagree.
Aren't we all supporting Digital India? If we say Digital India, that means that we are accepting the fact that digital is the way to go, and obviously the other channels and...
Okay, but Murtaza, Rahul puts a different point, and Rahul, I'm coming to you. He says, okay, look, by promoting something or you putting in someone, while you can debate that restrictions should not be put, but you also then make it cooler. It's like smoking or alcohol. You don't want to give the impression that this is the cool thing, this is the cool way to talk, this is the cool way to behave, because that can also happen in impressionable minds.
I disagree. I disagree with it completely on this thought, because at the end of the day, it's an individual's choice, individual's decision to actually go about and express himself. We have been in a society which is very, very individualistic. So I personally disagree with that thought.
Okay, so let me flip that around, Rahul, before I come to you, Bosky. It is a point, Bosky, it is a point that when you showcase these things and you make them part of a very conversational dialogue between what are two big stars in this country, and it almost seems like some kind of sleaze sexual activity, forget being normal to talk about, is a cool thing to be talking about, is a cool thing to associate with. Is that fine?
Yeah, it was. Probably that word might be mentioned in the movie once or maybe twice. If it is repetitively done, then we can object for that. For example, when I was in school, we had sex education. We were taught by fathers in the school institution called St. Bede's. They were taught, it was very useful. That's one thing. And only if the content is basically influencing you, then you can object to it. Not merely for the use of a word, boss. Then I stick to the same stand. You can never use the word rape. It amounts to the same thing.
You know, so it's about context. Rahul wants to come in. Rahul, you come in, then I go across to Lata Srinivasan joining us. Rahul, go ahead.
Rather than seeing this as hypocrisy, please see this as insecurity of an elder generation. It is the care, insecurity of an elder generation who is trying to engage with modern India, but they have their own inhibitions. Please don't see this as hypocrisy.
Okay, all right. Lata Srinivasan joining us on the broadcast. Lata, you know, you've heard what Pahlaj Nihalani has to say. We've been reporting these stories almost on a weekly basis. Is it because that there is a generation, perhaps multi-generations removed, that is not coming to grips by how fast this world is changing and what is okay and what's not okay, and the kids are getting older, younger, maturer, younger?
I'm not too sure about that, because if you see, we have the film like Teri, Ganga, Maili, you know, in the 80s, isn't it? And there was a little bit of content which was sexual in nature, but there was no censor board at that time which was saying, oh, you can't bring out this film because it shows, you know, somebody in a see-through sari or something like that. So the world, it's not that the world has changed and Mr. Nihalani, you know, seems to be caught in a different kind of time warp at this point. He's also been part of that industry. He's also seen those films. So it's extremely regressive to see that an industry which was so open 20, 30 years ago has suddenly now got a censor board where we're, you know, going back to something in the early 1900s or 1800s. It's very, very surprising.
No,
the world was progressive.
The reality is, and well, history repeats itself, Lata.
So,
yeah, but the reality is things change, perceptions change, how a society looks at certain issues change. What might be morally shocking to perhaps even us, to a different generation, a different culture, and a different country might be different. Now, are we now being able to come to grips with that or not? Ridangshu's got more voices with him on the digital desk. Ridangshu, carry on.
Film after film, you know, he's trying to impose all kinds of restrictions. What is, I think, as we can see, it is supposedly a perceived immorality.
So should essentially Pahlaj be asked to go? Has the time come to ask this basic question as to why is this man still in his job? And if he's so, why is he being allowed to continue?
He should have left long back. He should have been allowed to go long back. But obviously,
well, he's not going anywhere. We've had this debate and we've done it to death. He's not going anywhere. Bosky's got a smile on his lips hearing that. But I'm going to rope in quickly Murtaza. Murtaza, is this about one individual, or is it about now holding up a mirror to all of us and making that final line of what's okay and what's not okay? And you say an individual decide. As a society, how do we decide?
I feel there is inherently a problem with Pahlaj, because ever since he came to head this censor board, we have been having problem. Every second movie today is going to the FCAT. I've been talking to filmmakers and they're terrified. The writers are terrified. They say that our creativity has gone out of the window. And every time we start penning down anything, we have to think of Pahlaj. So he has become that poltergeist.
Okay, so where do we find the line? Bosky, is it reasonable to say, before I get Rahul, Ishwar and Lata back into the conversation, is it reasonable to say that Look, Bollywood cinema, it pushes the envelope. It does push the envelope. It keeps pushing it, and if somebody doesn't draw a line, then one day we'll be remaining shocked. Or conversely, do we say, look, if they push the envelope, so be it. If it becomes too sleazy, people just won't watch it.
You can't be unduly bothered about each and every word, boss. Seriously, if basically the content is provocative, then you can ban it. So it has to be the censor board has to be a sensible cum sensitive board. Okay, they have to draw a line. So everything they keep finding fault, you can never release any movie. To my knowledge, my theory is the moment you enter a theater, you forget society, shut society. Watch the movie, enjoy it. The moment you leave the theater, forget the film, get back into society.
Okay, quickly across to Ridangshu on the digital desk. Ridangshu, we can listen in to what you're discussing as well as what comments are coming in, please, because we're running short of time. I want to get as many viewer comments as possible, Ridangshu.
I wouldn't be surprised, right? Like you said, there's a whole generation out there which believes that. There might be people of our generation who believe that, right? And I think, while we are having this discussion, it's important to keep in mind that we can't alienate them either. We need to actually have this discourse with them and say, hey, what is it that is making you resist this? Because unless we don't do this, we run in the same risk of having silos. You have like the incredibly liberal guys.
So don't alienate young people. And Rahul Ishwar, how do you, we talk about education in this country, and we keep on talking about education. How do we ensure that conversation is going on and that it is a conversation happening in the mainstream and not on sleazy websites?
I agree with that particular sister who said don't alienate youngsters. And on the flip side, don't disengage with the elders. Disengagement with elders and disengagement with Pahlaj Nihalani sir kind of people. There are huge sections of society. They may not have much more voice in national media, but there is a huge section of people who are like them. So let us engage more and more. Let us find a middle ground. Let us finally fix on where to draw the Lakshmana Rekha.
Okay, let's find a middle ground. Lata Srinivasan, do you agree with that logic that a middle ground has to be found? Because there are sensibilities which just can't be ignored. We can't just say, well, to hell with it.
Absolutely, but I think the censor board, before Mr. Pahlaj Nihalani came in, did have those sensibilities, was very inclusive, and did look at, all sections of society, the elderly and the young. And I don't think we ever had any problems earlier. But today with him on the board, we seem to be, there's a controversy every day, because most of these words and whatever issues he's taking, it's all related to the young.
Yeah,
you need to understand that India at the end of the day has so many youngsters.
Yeah, it's become petty. That's the problem, right? And I think this is what we agree with. We take in the caveat, and which is why we invite Rahul Ishwar to these conversations and others, because there is another side of the story which needs to be absorbed. But when it becomes a bit petty, sometimes it becomes a bit ridiculous. And the reality for all of us is, it's all online. And there's nothing governing that. And we are governing ourselves. Perhaps we are all falling behind. Gentlemen, and Lata Srinivasan, Ritika, and the digital team for having this conversation tonight. It's important to have it, because the line gets drawn when we keep on talking about it to find out what's okay and what's not okay. That's the Connect for tonight. We slip into a short break. On the other side, it is a world exclusive news break right here on NewsX. Stay with us.